Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Riverside Theater's Backstage Chat, a podcast where we get to talk to some of the artisans who work on or around our stages. Today I'm thrilled to have a friend co-host with me, Adam Schnell, who's the Director of Education and the Artistic Director of Ballet Vero Beach, the only professional dance company on Florida's Treasure Coast. Hi.
Is that what we are? Is that who I am? Okay.
Well, that's what I wrote down.
All right. Well, then if it's in the paper, then it must be true.
And we have two incredibly exciting guests to talk to today. But before we get to them, because I'm going to ask you to introduce them and the reasoning that they're here, primarily is because we're talking about the Riverside Dance Festival. And last summer, episode 15, for those who want to look back, we really delved into what the dance festival is and the reasoning for the dance festival and the many years and the many great dance companies that have come. But for those who don't remember or don't have the time to go back to that, can you give us a quick insight as to what the dance festival is, and which is a great introduction to these lovely ladies.
So the Riverside Dance Festival actually predates Ballet Vero Beach. When I took over as Director of Dance Education, we were seeing a lot of kids and even their parents really that were like, oh, well, he or she is great at this, but they're going to go to college and major in something real, or they need to get a real job. And I was like, so the last decade and a half of my life was not real life. When I was dancing professionally, that wasn't a real job. So we wanted to create a space and a program where sort of the young people in the area could experience what it was like to be a professional dancer. And the best way I knew how to do that at the time was sort of dip into my Rolodex. Rolodex. Do people still use? They don't use those anymore. Dip into the contact list on my phone.
I think it's a new app.
It's a new app, Rolodex. And basically ask friends I knew that had companies to come spend 2 weeks working with young people. And then when we knew that was a possibility, we said, wait a minute, if you're coming or you can bring some of your dancers, why not present those companies on the Stark stage at Riverside and give Indian River County and beyond access to really high quality professional dance? And the response was so huge that Ballet Vero Beach was sort of born out of that. Like, oh, there is kind of an audience for dance here. Like, we should be doing something with this. And so the Riverside Dance Festival has continued as a partnership between Riverside and Ballet Vero Beach. To date, we have brought 11 separate companies to town. And this year is the first time we have a company actually coming back for the full residency. A year ago, May, we brought a lot of the companies back together for a celebration of that 10 company mark. But it is really kind of special that Los Angeles Contemporary Dance Company was one of the first companies that we brought, and in fact the first companies that did the entire residency on their own, and now they're the first company that we're bringing back.
How exciting! How exciting!
No pressure, none whatsoever.
So how does it feel to come back? But we'll before we get into it, introduce our wonderful guests.
What is so funny is that none of our fabulous guests here actually were. I think Jamila was part of the company the first time, but Jamila didn't come for the first residency. So we have Jamila Glass, Artistic Director. Are we saying LACDC? Are we saying Los Angeles Contemporary Dance Company? What are we saying now?
Well, I think you've said Los Angeles Contemporary Dance Company. Now we can say LACDC.
Okay.
Correct.
And then we have Ayesha Orange, who is the Rehearsal Director for LACDC. So they're joining us today. And it was really funny when I started talking to Jamila and their artistic director, executive director, Napoleon. I'm like, I want you guys to come back. And then we're working on it. I went, I feel like I know Jamila because she has such a long history with the company, but she was never actually here when we had them before. So it's been really, really exciting for her to come, for the entire group to come back and start working with the kids.
Well, we're excited to have you back, although first time for you, but the company it represented very well. Give a little insight for our audiences what the LACDC, what's your mission? Do you do contemporary work? Do you collaborative work? So that people get an idea of what the kids are learning and then coming to see a performance. Yes.
Right, so we are actually celebrating 20 years this year, which is really exciting.
Congratulations.
I am a founding member, so 20 years ago I got
You started when you were 2, is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was a prodigy. So I've had the fortune of seeing the company grow from its infant stage. I actually auditioned for the company the day after I graduated from college. So it's my first professional job that I've maintained and kept for 20 years. The mission of the company involves amplifying LA artists. So it's a contemporary company. Contemporary includes a lot of different dance forms. It can include contemporary ballet, contemporary jazz, modern dance forms. It can include dance theater. It can include dialogue on stage. We've worked with actors before, singers before, and live performance. We've worked with playwrights. We've done immersive theater where the audience is involved in moving around the space.
That sounds like fun.
We've also done improvisational.
Oscar's in. He's ready.
We've also done improvisational based work where about 95% of the show is improvised in real time, and then the rest is structured choreography. So it really depends on what is curated. I'm the 3rd artistic director in the history of the company, and each one of us, Kate Hutter Mason is the founding artistic director and co-founder, and then that was followed by Genevieve Carson, who was artistic director for 5 years. Kate was artistic director for 10 years, and I'm in my 5th year, which is
Wonderful.
Wild because I started in 2021, and those were kind of like the lost years.
Getting back to some sort of
normal. But each one of us has had a different vision, but the main focus is amplifying Los Angeles artists. I think as contemporary companies around the world, a lot of the focus can be amplifying those who are maybe global or not from your city, or those who might be more well known. I think in the Los Angeles community, there are artists who have become well known, artists who are very talented and are not as known on a national scale. And we have such a rich city that involves not only choreographers, but designers and other makers that we can collaborate with. So that's the main focus. And the medium could be on stage, it could be on the screen, because we work with dance films as well. I have a filmmaking background. I have a degree in cinema television from USC.
Yes, I'm very interested. We'll get into that.
And it could be out in the open and a site-specific work. So it really depends on the vision. But we have employed a lot of dancers and makers over the past 20 years, and that's been a real, when we've been looking at the data in the celebration of our 20 years, it's been a real treat to see all of the impact that we've had as a group. And I think when we're on that hamster wheel, it's easy to just go on to the next thing. But in the reflection and seeing like all the names, all the choreographers, all the dancers, lighting designers, production managers, it's been really nice to see all the people that are rooted in LA. They might not originally be from LA, but they've put their roots down in LA, and that they are a representation of this larger legacy of LACDC.
Well, there's no question, I'm sorry, you're going to ask a question, but there's no question that LA is full of incredibly talented performers, musicians, creators, whereas New York is probably the hub of theater performers. Would you say LA is more of a dance town hub?
See, I was actually going to kind of interject and brag on them, and that actually brings me to my point. One of the things 20 years ago, Jamila mentioned Kate Hutter Mason, who is the founding artistic director, who she and I actually went to school together, which is the reason I got involved with LACDC anyways. But 20 years ago,
Rolodex.
Yes, part of my Rolodex. And actually, before that, and even to this day, I would say LA is not an easy dance town. especially concert dance, like selling, getting people into a theater. And I really think that LACDC was one of the organizations that really amplified that and brought it to the fore. I remember talking to Kate in the first few years of the company. I said, why are you doing this in LA, right? Like, ballet companies have failed and failed and failed there. This was before Los Angeles Ballet came back. Concert dance, like, yes, of course you have the music center and you have things coming, or you have things coming through UCLA, but like, she said exactly that. I want to amplify LA dance artists and LA voices. And I think that is an amazing thing that you're looking now back on 20 years of that. The other thing that I think is important to touch upon that Jamila said is, she talked a lot about the word contemporary. And I remember talking to Kate when she started the company, and I said, well, I mean, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. She said, actually, no, I put in the bylaws that, I'm going to serve for 10 years, and then it's going to go to the next artistic director, and they can serve for up to 10 years, and so on and so on and so on. I said, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean? She said, if it's going to be a contemporary company, it needs a new voice. It needs a current voice. And I just I went to school with this person. We were kind of troublemakers. I told you we were kind of renegade ballerinas and things like that. But like, the fact that she had the foresight to say, no, if we truly want to represent LA and amplify LA voices, that has to be a commitment. And then also, if we truly want to be contemporary, we have to make sure that there are new voices brought into the conversation, because contemporary is of the moment. And I'm still blown away by that model, and I think it's so exciting that you guys have completed 2 decades, because starting an art organization is nuts, but then being able to sustain an arts organization for 2 decades it's huge. It's amazing.
It is a feat, and I think what I've been doing for the past few years is really delving into the data to talk about the impact, because the people who have lived it and have been around like me know the data, but we haven't really spoken to the impact. And I think part of what helps to sustain an organization and help to bring more folks in, new audiences or even funders, is that history, that legacy. And for other dance companies that we know and love that have been around for a long time, we know about the legacy because they talk about it. And so I think it does us a disservice if we assume that people know, or just don't talk about it because maybe it doesn't feel important. But we've gathered, we're close to releasing some of that information, but it's been really encouraging to actually see the numbers, see all the names, but that takes so much time to put all that information together.
We're thrilled that LACDC is here, and they're working hard with a group of kids, as well as themselves. But what happens at the end of this 2-week intensive, Adam? So here's a nice little commercial for you.
A nice commercial. So I always tell people that when it's the time of year for the Riverside Dance Festival, that to really get the full festival experience, you need to make plans. Yes, you have to come to Riverside Theater twice or 2 days in a row.
Correct.
But you have to make plans to not only see one of the company shows, and that's 7:30, both on August 1st and August 2nd on the Stark stage, but you have to come by the theater at 2 p.m. on August 2nd to see the student showcase. Because remember, I was talking about earlier that really the nugget of all this is that we wanted kids to experience what it's like to be a professional. That means for 2 weeks from 10 to 6 with an hour lunch break, they're taking 2 classes in the morning, and then they're in choreography labs from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening. They're working with, I think, total of 5 choreographers this year.
I think
3?
7.
7?
It'll be 7.
It's a lot. You look at the kids the first day, they come in bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, but today we're recording this on day 3, and they came in a little bit slower. But the whole point is that at the end of the 2 weeks, they've really gotten inside LACDC's aesthetic. And for young people who we've had in the program for a few years, that means each summer they're really getting to know the artistic team at a different company. So they're going out there into college or into the real world, hey, Jamila might not be hiring, but I really want to be in LA. Can I do something for you guys? Can I hang out with you guys? Can I even work in the office? She has a Rolodex. Hers is much cooler and younger than mine, but whatever.
And she has a contemporary class that she teaches.
Yeah, so that's another connecting point. Yeah.
So that's really, when I was starting out as a professional, we were back in the day and age of writing a letter of introduction with a cover letter from your teacher that loved you the most and just sending it and hoping to hear back.
Yeah.
We've moved so far beyond that between social media and just, person-to-person connection that I feel like this program has become a really integral part of, being a young dancer here in Indian River County and just having that experience and being able to have, touch points with different organizations all over the country.
This year, what are the age ranges for the students taking the intensive?
So we have 10-year-olds, if you can believe it, all the way through young professionals and college-age students. It's really, it's always such a wide gap. I am always so impressed at how the visiting artists navigate all that, right?
And that was my next question. How do you deal with someone who's 10 and someone who's 20? What sort of... Is there a routine for the day? This is what we're going to start with, and then we'll branch out and sort of structure of the day. Is there some sort of thing that everyone can sort of fall into?
Meaning within the choreography?
Yes.
I felt that I needed to, I feel that there's a distinct difference between the youngers and the olders. The olders are...
Bringing different
amazing
levels of experience.
Yes, exactly. Whereas the youngers, they're just now being exposed to a lot of things, right? They're not quite there, but they're so open to learning anything. Even if they're on the wrong foot, they're still dancing. And I see like their joy in their faces just to be in the room. So yes, you have to accommodate to the little, or I call them littles. The big and little.
Some of them are
They're so
quite tiny.
itty-bitty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're teaching them proper technique as you're
And we
going through that.
we do divide them into separate levels. I do try and encourage in the choreography labs that we at least have something where everyone is together, so you get to see the whole group.
Okay.
And Jamila is taking that on this year. But I love what Ayesha said, because for me, there's that weird pivot point, right, where you get the young ones and they don't care. I mean, they're just happy to be there, and you say stand on your head for 10 minutes, they're like, okay. But you say that to some of the older ones that have learned the technique and want to impress and all this sort of stuff, and they're immediately going, can I actually do that? Like, what am I going to have to do to make that happen? So it's a really it's kind of a deft balance, especially when you have you're like with the littles the first class, and then you have to turn around and flip it to the bigs. And one of the things that we look for when we're selecting companies is companies that sort of have a proven track record both in education but also community engagement. I look for folks that are you just drop them in the middle and say, okay, impart your wisdom, and they're cool with that. And that's one of the things that I feel, especially, you heard Jamila talk about everything that LACDC is. It's almost indefinable at a point, because you guys do so much, whether it's film, live performance, whatever it is. We know, we know that they're going to get in the studio and there's going to be an amazing result, because they're just so adept at whoever's in front of them, they're going to pass on the knowledge.
Well, and I, excuse me for interjecting, but I would think that it gives you energy to know that here's this 10-year-old who's just with so much passion for what you're going to teach them, and they just want to absorb everything, that it sort of gives you the sort of energy to want to give them that energy, that wisdom that you've accumulated.
Absolutely. I mean, with the older people, I don't know. With the older people, you can tell them what to do. You can just, speak it, turn out a little bit more on this. Whereas the youngers, for me, I ask if I can touch them, and I do it for them and push them down a little bit. Do you feel that? That is what I want. You have to get your hands in, because
You're
they're
molding.
just exactly.
I also think that it gives us an opportunity to be better teachers, better communicators, because everyone, even if you're an older person, everyone has a different kind of way of learning. And so when you're interacting with a group that you don't really know, you're deciding in real time if your methods are working. And so how do you adjust in the moment, because class is going to be over in an hour and a half. So how do you adjust in the moment, and how can you find a connection point that, even if it's not all the way to the level that you want for this class, how can you find some kind of connection point to where you feel like, okay, that's a moment of growth. So it's like a welcome challenge, and fortunately everyone who's a part of this cast was open to the challenge, because they asked a lot of questions about like who what kind of level and all this stuff, and I said, well, we'll have to see. We can be told information, but sometimes people believe that they are at a level and they might be at a different level. And so
I always try to go the other way. I always try to like undersell so that when y'all get here, you're like, oh no, this is amazing.
Yeah, and there have been some people who were in the younger or with the littles who are now with the older group, and that was just based on observation. So we have been flexible in that regard, and it seems from our observation that the energy is still very positive in both rooms.
Now you've been with the company from the beginning. Over the 20 years, how have you seen it grow? How have you seen it impact not only in LA, but in other areas of the country where you've been?
One thing that Kate said in the very beginning, or in the beginning years, was that she didn't want to have to ask for permission to make work. So one of the cornerstones of LACDC would be that we produce our own shows, and we also might be invited by a presenter to present elsewhere. And so it gives us that self-starter quality, helps us to continue to curate, continue to provide those jobs. In terms of the impact, it just seeing how many different types of artists have come to work with the company as choreographers has been really interesting, and how I grew as a dancer under those choreographers, even if it was a choreographer that maybe I didn't completely love. And I'd like to be honest about this. For dancers who are becoming professionals, we're not always going to love everything that we do, but from my perspective, there's always something to learn from being in a process that might be strange to us or challenging or weird. There's something that we can grow from as an artist. So seeing all the different types of people who've come in has been really interesting, and also the types of partnerships that the company has gotten over the years, from commercial partnerships, or there was, I don't remember what year this was, but we went on tour with Foster the People. I got to go on that tour as a dancer, or connecting with embassies in other countries, and going to perform in Argentina and New Zealand. The past 4 years, we've been working with the Cultural Office of the Embassy of Spain. We're not yet on the flight to Spain. We hope that it happens soon, but we've been in collaboration where we've had
Oscar and
I
was going to say, Oscar and I are going to come with you on that one.
If you know if you have any Spanish, anyone watching this, if you have any Spanish, connections,
I could be your translator.
Help us get out there.
Happy to translate for you.
So essentially, we've had, I've selected a Spanish choreographer. That choreographer has been flown out to LA to be in residency with the company for the past 4 years, a different choreographer. So now we have the Spanish rep that we can do in Spain.
Hint, 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 hint.
Also on the educational side, we didn't start our intensives maybe we started our intensives maybe 4 years in, something like that, and that has really grown. People from around the world come and take our classes.
Well, even
I've seen
one
it
of
listed,
the students that is here, who is from Vero Beach, Logan, he did the year you guys were virtual because of the pandemic. So like as soon as he heard you guys were coming back, he's like, I'm gonna be in town. I'm like, of course you can. I'm sure they'd love to hang out with you in actual person, real time.
Yeah, I believe Logan was maybe 15 when he took our intensive virtually, and now he's at Boston Conservatory, which is so exciting. It's really cool to see how he moves now versus how he moved on that in the little box.
The little Zoom box.
So those are the educational side is some ways that we've expanded, and just partnerships more. Like we have a new partnership coming up that I can't speak about yet, but it's with a major brand. And just like what I hope is that people see the work that we're doing. If they're able to interact with us, they feel our energy, and that they make the decision that these are people that we want to partner with. These are people who we want to impart some knowledge onto our students. These are people that we want to bring to our town. Because there's many choices of companies to bring places, and so I hope that we have many more years of being able to share.
I was going to ask you, you both have incredible credits, and I was going to ask you about specific projects, but time being as it is, I mean, we're recording this in the middle of the day, so they still have hours to go. So I encourage anyone who want to read up on Ayesha and Jamila's credits, go to the LACDC website and you can check on, and you will be awed with the people and the projects that they've worked with. But let me ask each of you, how did you start? As a young child, was there someone in your family that encouraged you? Was it just the passion within you was so grand that you just had to perform in a dance capacity?
For me, when I was younger, I was in little kiddie ballet, like that, and then that ended. I was in the room, but I wasn't there. And when I was in high school, junior high school, it was 8th grade, I joined the drill team. I got on the drill team. I did not make an officer. And then in high school, I was a cheerleader, and we competed. We would go to Japan, we did the things. We were never as good as Texas. But then in my high school, senior year, a friend of mine was taking classes from this trainer called Paula Morgan. This teacher saw a lot of talent in him, and when he would come home, he would teach me little things. And he was in this teen company with Joe Tremaine. And it was led by this choreographer named Marguerite Derricks. So in that teen company class, she was like, you should audition for this company. That was when I was 17. So I started actually dancing in a ballet class and jazz class at 17, and everyone had started at 5. Of course, that's usually, they start to get browbeaten in those tendus at 5. So I had a lot of catching up to do, but I was very flexible, and my teacher was as well. So to this day, she is still my mentor. And she would bring in her friends. She was Debbie Allen's assistant. So she brought in a Hinton Battle. She brought in
You're killing
Debbie
me, Ayesha.
Allen. Oh, I have stories.
So good.
I have so many stories. Tice Diorio came in to teach for a while because she had to go away to do Showgirls. And she would just bring in these different people, and I got to be touched by all with their teaching skills. Doug Caldwell, Bill Bowl, Alex Magno used to teach at Tremaine. So, as Marguerite became more, I don't even know, like, the more I think about it, I don't know, she must have just seen something in me. She would just allow me in the room. And my best friend Sal was working with her all of the time, and I would just be in the room. And she would allow me to kind of shadow her on a set or something. And then she would audition me. Never got it. I wasn't even the best in the company, but she would put me in the back. But for some reason, I just kind of, I don't know why I was in the room.
But the thing is that, but what's so important and what I'm hearing you say, Ayesha, is that these opportunities to be in the room
Yes.
is the important thing.
Yes.
Right? We actually, I don't even know if you know this, 2 of the students in the dance festival this summer were the 2 kiddos in Riverside singing in the rain.
Oh,
Both
really?
sets of parents said to me, they learned that 8/8 dance count, but now they want to learn more. And I said, well, but you know, the fact, like, you have that door open to you and you're in the room and you're like, I don't know why I'm here, but I kind of like what's going on. And sometimes it's just sticking around and absorbing.
Yeah.
You know, and like I had that same experience. Actually, Kate and I both had that experience at school with one of our teachers. It's like, we don't know why he likes us so much. We don't know, why are we even watching him? Why are we, you know what I mean? But
Well,
like,
I would say it's because obviously you were exuding some sort of passion.
but you know,
towards
as a
this
young
that
person,
people could.
you know what I mean? Teenager or even like preteen, sometimes you're like, you don't know that, but you just kind of keep showing up, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing. Yeah, this is what it is. Yeah, that's so cool. I love that.
Amazing story.
Yeah.
Jamila?
Well, I actually started dancing in church, and then I got a
How
scholarship.
old were you?
I was around 6 or 7. I know I started in a studio when I was 7, so maybe I was 6. And I really enjoyed that. Like, I remember we had like a prop that was a crate, and we had to get up on the crate, and we had to get off on the crate, and that was a big deal. We had to move the crate. And that was in church. So then I got a scholarship to a dance studio, and I did ballet, jazz, and tap. I moved up quickly, but I wasn't at that studio that long. I come from a family of 4 girls. I'm number 3. And my family used to sit in the lobby waiting for me to finish my classes. And at one point, I think I had been at that studio for 2 years, and my dad said, you know, I have 3 other children, and we can't spend all our time at the dance studio. We gotta figure dance out some other way. So from that point on, essentially, I was holding on to dance for dear life. I had a dream to become a professional in some capacity, but I didn't know what that would be. So I went to middle school. My middle school, I played sports there. I went on to have aspirations of potentially going to the Olympics and track.
Wow.
But I ended up at a performing arts high school where I was a vocal music major. I didn't do the dance department because it wasn't a good fit in terms of the way they ran it. But I did vocal music because I had some background in singing, and it was a great academic school. While I was there, I auditioned. The all-school musicals, they would, you could audition in any art area. So I would always audition as a dancer. I wasn't taking classes at this time. I was just essentially like learning what was being taught.
Learning by doing.
Yeah, learning by doing. And so I did that, you know, as a dancer. And then I went to USC Film School. USC at the time did not have a dance school. Like, the Kaufman School did not exist. They had a minor. I did take I did not minor in dance, but I did take a few classes. But I was a film student, aspirations of filmmaking, still with the dream of being a dancer somehow. But in my mind, I assumed that the pathway to being a dancer was getting a dance degree, because that's just all I knew. So the day after my graduation, I auditioned for LACDC. I met Kate at USC. She was a year older than me. She went to SUNY Purchase after she graduated, started her master's.
I came from SUNY Purchase.
Oh,
Small world.
Small world.
so she told me she was starting a dance company, and I was like, sure. Who does that? I didn't know what that meant.
Exactly.
It was like maybe in 5 years. I don't know. So she came back, and she was like, yeah, I'm starting a dance company, and she told me the date. It was the day after my graduation. The week after my graduation, I got a call, invited me to join the company. I've been a professional dancer ever since. So,
Wow.
that's my story. I have often wondered why I was in the room because of, I did not have that consistent training from when I started. Yeah, I mean, obviously Kate saw something in me, and, I took every rehearsal as an opportunity to not only learn from who was at the front of the room, but learn from who was next to me. And I still have that same philosophy, like forever student.
Amazing.
And we have a new saying called discovery over mastery. And in my mind, that is being in the role of a perpetual student.
You guys should put that on your t-shirts. Like,
It's a good one.
should.
It's a good
service
one.
mark that discovery over mastery. Like,
Yeah,
grab that one.
So as a perpetual student, you understand these students that are now part of this program. So what do you want the students to sort of learn at the end of the 2 weeks? And what would you like them to be able to showcase, in essence, on their performance?
I think the learning that contemporary looks different.
It could be a daunting word, contemporary. What does that mean? Is there a
Yeah.
storyline? What if I don't
Right.
understand what they're trying to say?
Yeah, and we all 7 of us have very different. We all come from different backgrounds. We're not all from the same pipeline. So that, as a result, is automatically going to have a different feel and a perspective. We're also teaching different dance forms in our technique classes. So I think the idea of knowing that all of us are performing together, however, we represent these different perspectives. And here's one way of moving. Here's another way of moving. I think just that expansion of understanding that there's many different ways to move is what I want them to take away. And what were you about to say?
I was going to say, on that note, contemporary is pretty daunting. I didn't go to college. I didn't go in the direction a lot of the other dancers in this company has. I've been a commercial dancer since the get-go, so of course I learned technique and I learned how to dance, but my perspective would be vastly different than the ones that come from a college background, I feel. So for me, I'm like, I had to say, I don't need to be contemporary. I can just create out of what I think, because that title was starting to trip me out. I came from somewhere, and I came into this process of LACDC completely wide-eyed and with deer in headlights, because I'm used to, you get in, you do the work, everything's prepared, you show it to whomever is gonna sell it, and then you let it go to the next gig. But here, it is fascinating how things are created with time and tenderness and the word I feel like not contemplative, but
They have a purpose.
well, discovering the purpose. Sometimes it starts this way and then it ends over here. Whereas in commercial, it's like there's a storyboard. Everyone on it already knows what
You
the
were
end
on
product.
that spot doing those 4 counts, and then we cut to somebody else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the process has been really fascinating for me, but I had to, in this process, it's kind of like let go of trying to be contemporary and just do what you know, girl.
And that, you know, they were both kind of saying what they are hoping the young people can get out of it and what they're showing. I think that what like makes me so happy about the dance festival is what they have said goes right back to who LACDC is. There is no one path to becoming a dancer. You might see 7 completely different pieces of choreography Saturday the 2nd at 2 p.m. on the student showcase. You guys like that, right? You saw that. Be there.
I was going to ask you to do the commercial again.
But, you know, that's really the whole point of all of this, is to show the young people that it's really, there's no one path.
Yeah.
It could be college. It could be just finding a mentor. You could think you're going to be a filmmaker, but you have that dance dream way back. Like, I mean, you could be me, who grew up in a town that, like, all the guys played hockey, and I clearly wasn't going to make it on the rink. You know, so I think that, and then that also goes into the shows with the company, right? One of the things that I love about being affiliated with Riverside Theater for this project and other things is both BVB and Riverside Theater are in the business of showing our audiences what is possible when human beings can reach their full creative potential. You know, that could be everything from seeing an amazing play in the Wax Lax, a huge musical on the Stark Stage, or a BVB performance. And then you layer that in. Like, we just closed Legally Blonde and Annie Jr. and Annie Kids. Like, what the young people in this town are doing, it's the same thing. You come here to go, oh my gosh, I forgot that was even possible for human beings to do these things, right? Which is why we do what we do anyways, to illuminate the human condition. So I just think it's so cool that A, we get to have programs like this, but B, we get to bring in like these perspectives from literally the almost as far away as you can get on the other side of the country, at least the continental US, you know, and that they're here for their second go around, the fact that we still get to do this.
And it's amazing that, yes, they're working for 2 weeks to have the kids do a showcase at the end of the 2 weeks. But what's a benefit, tremendous benefit, is that they get to showcase themselves.
They get to have their say as well.
On the Friday and the Saturday night
Yeah.
of showing our community and the people in this area what LACDC stands for and what makes them stand out.
Yeah.
So that's a good time for a commercial again.
Yes, so, you know, you got to come to everything. So
Just like they do a film festival, you know,
Yes.
a couple of days in a row.
Literally festival. Thank you very much for bringing that up. So the company performances, LACDC, are August 1st and 2nd at 7:30. The student showcase, all of those fantastic young people currently working with LACDC, is August 2nd at 2 p.m. The company shows are ticketed events. The student showcase is absolutely free. Please come to everything. You know, it's such a privilege that we have this in our own backyard, and obviously we need ticket sales to continue to support things like this.
Thank you.
You're the best, Oscar.
Oh, thank you, Jamila. Thank you, Ayesha, for your time. Like I mentioned earlier, you still have a couple hours with the kids to go.
Yes, we do.
So thank you so much for spending some time with us and showcasing the troupe. We're excited to see them on stage. And I want to thank you, my dear friend, co-hosting with me. And of course, we want to thank John Moses, our executive producer and CEO, and Alan Cornero, our artistic director. Sometimes they're, you know, dentures. We want to thank them for their leadership. And of course, we want to thank you for listening to this podcast. And until next time, I'm Oscar Sales.